Alternative energy is gaining popularity throughout the entire world. Oil crisis, global environmental problems, nuclear energy risks, and a number of other factors only contribute to the advancement of this process. In Europe, the main task is to ensure energy security.
I think it comes down a lot to energy security when you're looking at Western Europe. Western Europe does not want to be depending on one single source coming from external parties, rather want to generate as much as possible inside the country.
The agency notes the major changes in Ukraine's energy strategy during the past few years and hails such remarkable progress.
When we started the organization here, the European Ukrainian Energy Agency, it was clearly not really on the agenda of the government, because in the government's mind at that time was probably to sell more and more natural gas for whatever reason it may have been. Nowadays, after having worked in the country from the organization and also from many other organizations that are supporting the same development of the policy, we do see a lot of changes. There is a very big interest from the Ukrainian government side to improve the energy efficiency, reduce the amount of gas, because obviously gas is being imported. By going for energy efficiency, using natural resources, agricultural waste products, is actually starting to be a possibility of exporting out of the country.
According to Lundin, Ukraine could soon become a very important part of the unified European electricity grid.
The Western European countries are connected in terms of electricity network, so that we can basically transport electricity from north of Sweden down to the southern part of Italy. Ukraine has recently signed on to these agreements as well, and will now be included and integrated into Western European network in terms of electricity.
In Europe, the notion of green energy is rapidly becoming popular and is expanding its market by replacing traditional energy sources. On the background of the closure of coal mines, investments in solar and wind power plants are growing.
I think that the tendency is clearly that most countries are moving away from old fossil type of fuel, being coal, oil, natural gas, and they're moving much more into the use of biomass. They also improve the conditions for generating electricity with wind power, which is very prominent nowadays in Western Europe. But also solar power, which of course is slightly different and maybe not so, shall we say, important in the northern countries, but at the same time Germany has an enormous amount installed, because they have already from a very early stage understood the importance of bringing in new production sources of electricity. So they want to balance out and do away with the old coal-fired power plants. They want to close down their nuclear power plants because they see a future. I think this is something that we see here in Ukraine continuously, and much more in the last couple of years, when the authorities have become more aware about the importance of reducing the use of natural gas as a source of heating, and rather turn over to wood and agriculture waste that is tremendous here in Ukraine.
Europeans consider that business related to green energy in Ukraine can be quite profitable, especially after the adoption of the law on creating competitive conditions for the production of clean energy in 2015.
We had, shall we say, I think an unfortunate initial step in the renewable energy business where there was a lot of corruption. Thanks goodness, many of those people have disappeared from the energy market, and I think now we are with companies that are really starting to see the need for being good citizens. Our agency, we are having different members. We have many foreign companies. For example, we have this Norwegian investment company in solar business. We have the IFC, we have smaller organizations like NEFCO, and we work actively with those organizations to try again to help them to promote understanding about energy efficiency and renewable energy.
In particular, investors from Northern Europe are interested in the prospects of investing in helio installations in the south of Ukraine, where there are favorable climatic conditions for the production of solar energy.
I started up a second company in 2009, actually, that is now one of the bigger producers of wind power electricity down in the Kherson region. And I've recently started to support a Norwegian investor which has recently bought a number of solar projects here in Ukraine and is intending to purchase even more and build up a large base of production. And the reason for that is that obviously that it's an interesting market, land availability, sunny fields down in the southern part of Ukraine. In comparison, you are basically at the same level as northern Italy, which is a sunny country, and that's also why there's a lot of production in southern part of Ukraine in terms of vegetables and other agriculture products.
European banks are ready to invest in the green energy sector of Ukraine much more willingly than in other projects, also because in this sphere there are state guarantees, transparent schemes of work, and rational, understandable and acceptable tariffs.
I have this week been discussing with the Ukrainian government about that, and I think that they are very pro-renewable energy. We think that combining good policy in terms of environment with an opportunity of also developing the job market with qualified type of job opportunities for people is very important. We continuously talk to the ministries about these things, and we invite them to our events so that they can meet with our members and can have direct discussions.
Such initiatives to promote renewable energy sources are not new to Mats Lundin. Similar green strategies have already been implemented in Greece, Romania, and other neighboring countries.
I think one thing that is even more important, and that is that the knowledge is transferred to Ukraine from companies and organizations that are already established and have understood and tried it out. Thereby Ukraine can move even faster, in fact. It's also the opportunity for many young people, the technicians, that can train and become very professional in the renewable energy sector.
In addition to global projects, the agency is engaged in energy saving in multi-apartment buildings in such important social infrastructure facilities as schools and hospitals.
We have been big promoters about this, about building and energy efficiency in buildings, because that is unfortunately a very large portion of citizens' total bills that you're paying out. The right way to deal with it is to improve the insulation of buildings, improve window insulation, replace old windows with new windows. This is not something that is only for Ukraine, it's also in more advanced countries like Sweden, Switzerland or Austria. I had a discussion yesterday with one of the state-owned banks, Gas Bank, who is supporting what they call these warm loans that citizens are able to borrow money in order to make improvements in their own apartments.
Electric vehicles play an important role in improving energy efficiency and improving the environment in the country. Ukraine has all conditions for increasing the number of electric vehicle users. To stimulate the purchase of electric cars, in the agency we offer to introduce free parking in public and communal areas over the next 15 years.
Every organization has to change and develop with the development of the society. And me personally, what I'm doing in my business is that in addition to investing in wind power and solar power in different countries, I'm also working on establishing a network of electrical charging stations for electrical cars.
The agency positively assesses the progress of Ukraine in the field of renewable energy. Taking into account that the country joined the Green Movement in 2009, in this short period of time, Ukraine turned out to be the leader in the energy production sector from renewable sources among the post-Soviet countries. Over the last 3 years, the fraction of renewable energy sources has increased by 2% and has reached almost 6% in the overall structure of the domestic energy market. In 2017 alone, Ukraine's wind farms generated about 700 million kilowatts of electricity. The European Energy Agency says the future of Ukrainian energy lies in renewable sources.
Ukraine, which has an enormous amount of natural resources in terms of very good wind conditions, enormously good solar conditions, and also a lot of biomass, will probably, in my opinion at least, become a big net exporter of clean, renewable electricity into Western Europe.